Earlier you said there's no Bible verses that say that we're saved by faith alone.
No, there is one Bible verse that talks about faith alone.
Which one is that?
It's James 2:24. You're saved by works and not by faith alone.
Okay, so
it's the only place in the whole Bible. Yeah.
Except for Ephesians 2:8 and 9.
It's not except from anywhere else. Yeah.
Do you know Ephesians 2:8 and 9?
Oh, go ahead.
By grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast.
Yeah, and of course I agree with that totally, but James 2:24 is you're saved by works and not by faith alone. And Abraham and what's her name, Rahab, it's right there it says they were saved by works. So that contradicts with what you said, and I agree with what you said, by the way.
Many have heard the phrase, faith without works is dead, and wrestled with the idea of whether it implies earning a place in heaven. Many also use this verse to say, to get into heaven you must have good works. Pastor Todd Friel is about to break it all down and unpack the powerful, life-changing truths hidden in the context.
We've got to work our way to heaven and we're not saved by faith alone. Is it true that the only verse in the Bible that indicates that faith alone saves? Well, let's take a look at, what's that hermeneutical word? Context. James chapter 2 and verse 24, you see, a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. I'm biting my nails, so concerned that Protestant Christianity of grace alone, faith alone, and Christ alone is wrong. Not. Context always clears up the confusion. Just look at the verses surrounding your verse in question, and you will always have resolution. Let's do that, shall we? James chapter 2 and verse 21, was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered up his son Isaac on the altar? Hey, Friel, you're actually backsliding. That seems to support we've got to work to get to heaven. Hold on. This is verse 21. Verse 24 says that we're not saved by faith alone. Let's take a look at the verses in between, shall we? James chapter 2 and verses 22 and 23. You see that faith was active along with his works, and faith was completed by his works. And the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him as righteousness, and he was called a friend of God. Whoomp. There it is. Abraham was a friend of God. How? He had righteousness credited, imputed to him. By working? No, by believing in God, period. Now let's just go back a wee little bit. You see that faith, this faith that was credited to him as righteousness, to be made a friend of God, was active along with his works. We are clearly saved by faith alone, but a faith that is genuine doesn't stand alone. It demonstrates that it is valid by doing works. The works don't save. The works demonstrate we are saved. Context makes it clear. And if you really wanted to pin down a Roman Catholic who would say, there is a verse that says that we're not saved by faith alone, show them the rest of the context of James chapter 2. Let's do that, shall we? James chapter 2 and verse 14. What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? What is this? This is a description of genuine saving faith. It shows itself. Genuine faith works out. The faith that is real demonstrates itself in obedience, in sanctification, in serving, in giving, in doing, and evangelizing. Those activities don't save. They simply demonstrate that you are saved. More verses that tell us that. James chapter 2 verse 17, so also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. Could it be any more clear? A false faith, ho-hum, no works. Genuine saving faith, it exhibits itself in works. Wait. There are more verses, James chapter 2 and verses 18 and 19. But someone will say, you have faith and I have works. Well, show me your faith apart from your works, and I'll show you my faith by my works. You believe that God is one, you do well. Even the demons believe and shudder. Demons believe in God, if you will. Do they love him? Do they serve him? Do they give money to the local church? No. Why? Because they don't have genuine saving faith. And somebody who says, I believe in Jesus, but there are no works that accompany that profession of faith, they simply reveal it is a false profession. I'm sorry. There's more verses. James chapter 2 and verse 20. Do you want to be shown, you foolish person, that faith apart from works is useless? Bang, bang, bang. The context is making it clear. Genuine salvific faith is never an island. Genuine saving faith, the type of faith that Abraham had, which guaranteed that he'd be counted a friend of God because righteousness was credited to him, was a believing faith that demonstrated its validity by working. Now that we have seen all of the preceding verses, let's run through the verses that Clarence tried to pluck out of context to hammer Protestants into believing, well, you got to do some works to get to heaven too. James chapter 2 and verse 21. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered up his son Isaac on the altar? You see, faith was active along with his works, and faith was completed by its works. The scripture was fulfilled that says Abraham believed God, it was credited to him as righteousness, and therefore he was called a friend of God. You see, a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. Clarence. Stop taking verses out of context.
Similarly, Philippians 4:13 is often seen plastered on gym walls. I can do all things through him who strengthens me, leading some to interpret it as a promise that anything you can imagine is within reach through Christ. At first glance, it might seem like a blank check for success. But when we zoom out and read verse 12, we see Paul is talking about enduring life's ups and downs by relying on God, not chasing personal ambitions. Context provides the framework to understand what the original author intended and how their words were meant to be received by their audience. It helps us discern the specific circumstances, themes, and lessons of a passage, rather than imposing our assumptions or personal desires onto the text. Without context, it's easy to misread or misapply Scripture, leading to confusion and sometimes even harmful misunderstandings. By taking the time to consider the surrounding verses, we can accurately interpret and apply its teachings to our lives. Engaging with Scripture this way allows us to see its full depth and beauty while remaining faithful to its intended meaning. God bless. If you are seeking more answers, click on the screen now.